So don't mind my background. I'm sitting in the back, in my balcony as such. Okay. So hey guys, we're Team Sublit. We are a programming assignment submission and evaluation platform from PES University with a bunch of third year students. And yeah, we decided to solve a particular problem while in college, and that's the reason we're here at the incubator program as well. So I think you can go on to the next slide, Spandan. So a couple of days ago, as such, months ago, in fact, we actually took up this course on entrepreneurship, which was offered by the Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at PES University. So this particular project was supposed to be nothing but an idea for a final pitch for that particular subject, right? It was a project for one particular subject. That's all this was. So we performed pretty well in that particular course. And then Cisco Thinkubator came to our university, and then there was a partnership which happened. And it just came into our notice that this is a particular platform that we can, get into as such. So yeah, our teacher, one of our mentors, Madhukar sir from PES University, he told us like, hey guys, you guys seem to have a pretty good idea. Why don't you go ahead and check this particular platform called Cisco Incubator out? So that's how it essentially started. So we started talking to people as such. So the initial idea that we were working with was we wanted to, okay, so there's something called as a principle of effectuation. There are several principles in fact. So one of these principles happens to be what you term the bird in hand principle. So what is the bird in hand principle? You ask yourself three essential questions. What do I know? Whom do I know? And what can I do with this information as such, right? So as students, our influence largely extended up until the premises of our university. There was nothing beyond that. So we were just like, okay, we're going to have to do something in this particular university. So yeah, obviously the whole point of entrepreneurship is that you are going to find a particular real problem and solve it. So the whole concept of entrepreneurship is this: you don't have to have the most earth shattering breaking new idea which nobody's ever seen before. You might have a particular way of solving a particular existing problem. That's all, right? So that's how, something like, okay, let's say your gel pen started leaking, so you decided to invent the ball pen. That's just all entrepreneurship is: solving a particular existing problem, right? So that's how we started off. In fact, our first idea was we were looking at a parallel programming sort of an idea wherein the teacher could share some amount of code with respect to students and all of that. And this largely started because, the reason we started looking along these lines are when we were in our second year, right, which was 1 year exactly before COVID hit us. So when COVID hit, we all know that the entire education space just did a 180-degree flip, and then it said, okay, we're all going completely online right now. So none of us knew how to deal with it. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you are engineering students here, right? So if you're engineering students, I'm pretty sure a couple of you have at least taken up computer science. And if not, I'm pretty sure a couple of you had these computer science courses in your first year at least, right? So one of the prime problems that we happened to notice was this. And we experienced this firsthand. That's the reason we were able to empathize. One of the key things that Incubator has made us understand is we need to empathize with our customers, and we empathize with them 100%, not because we understood them or whatever. It was because we ourselves were a part of this customer segment as such, right? So that's essentially what it was. So yeah, we were going about this. We started talking to a bunch of people in our college and stuff like that, and we stumbled across this problem of assignment submissions then. So the procedure which was being followed, at least in PES University, we conducted a customer discovery among several universities. In fact, we probably would have spoken to a couple of you in this particular call itself, right? So yeah, during this particular thing, we realized a couple of things. So one of the things was this: if you got a particular assignment, your assignment would be sent via mail. Now, once this assignment is gotten to you via your mail, you have to solve this assignment, code this assignment out on your local machine. And once that's done, you send out this particular assignment after you form a Word PDF file with all of your executed code and then your screenshots and all of this stuff. Make a PDF and then you upload it on Edmodo or something of that sort. And then you send it across as such. And that's how the teacher evaluates it. So that's that's pretty much how it used to be. And you see how this is not just a tedious process for a student, but also really, really taxing when it comes to a teacher. Because why? Like imagine having to sit through and evaluate 60 assignments on that's just a gross number. Like let's say 60 students are there in one particular class, and if you're teaching only one class and you give them 2 assignments per week, that's at least 120 assignments right there. And imagine if you're taking 2 or 3 classes, that's like 360, 400 assignments straight up right there, 1 week. So that obviously took up a lot of time, and that's where we saw an opportunity and decided to capitalize on it. So that's how we started off, and that's where the idea was. And for our course, we stopped with a particular idea, did a little bit of customer discovery, spoke to a few people around college, and that's it. We stopped around there, and then we came across Thinkubator, right? So Thinkubator essentially was that specific driving force. I'm pretty sure all of you understand this when I say it. Without pressure on your head, you will not be able to move forward. So this is student mentality, people mentality, human psychology, whatever you want to term it. The minute you have a particular driving force to move forward, you obviously start working better. So normally this is termed working better under pressure, right? So this particular pressure was provided to us by Cisco Incubator. Otherwise, I'm honestly going to tell you, this particular slide is this particular idea would not have slid this far. So I think we can go to the next slide, Spandar. So yeah, what was the opportunity that we essentially saw? So in Karnataka alone, right? So we've got at least 88,000 students joining engineering every single year, right? So enrollments per year is roughly 32 lakh students throughout the country for engineering. In Karnataka alone, it's almost 88,000, and we obviously are from PES University. So our stepping stone had to be from PES University as such, right? So essentially, what we saw was this particular opportunity. 3,000 students in our very own university are facing this particular problem. Obviously, there've got to be a lot more who are facing this particular problem as well. So I think we can move on to the next slide as such, Spandar. So what was our problem statement? So the manual aggregation and evaluation of programming assignments was a very cumbersome and repetitive process for teachers. Like I've already explained that. They had to go through what? 100 submissions every week. That's about 9 hours per week as such. And with respect to students, everything was so scattered and messed up that, it was so problematic. So we had to do something in order to get it all in one particular place. And that's the problem statement that we decided to tackle. And the reason we chose this particular thing, sure, there are platforms like HackerRank, sure, there are platforms like HackerEarth, sure, there are platforms like CodeTantra. Why are they not being used? It's because they don't serve the value that they're supposed to be solving, right? So that's where we come in. We decided that this is a particular problem that we will be able to solve, and that's our solution. Sublit's a platform where customers you can, like Edmodo, you can create a particular classroom and an assignment on the platform itself on the web browser. So we're a web application as such. So the teacher can join, create a sign up, create a classroom as such, then form an assignment on our platform itself. And this assignment gives you a lot of flexibility. I think in a little while, Prithvi will be taking you through a particular demo of this particular product. So as soon as I'm done with this slide, I think we can go about with that. So yeah, so that's essentially what it is. On the platform itself, you can create a classroom. You give a 6-digit code, send it to your students via WhatsApp, via email, whatever you want to. That's the only communication that you need. And you need to do this once. Once they're a part of your classroom, you don't have to do this on and on, over and again. So it's just a one-time thing, right? So that's all it has to be for the teachers. You make this particular assignment, sit back, relax, say, I don't want to do anything more, right? Then what happens? The student comes in, signs up as a student, then enters a 6-digit code as such, joins a particular classroom and sees, there's a card which says, okay, there is a new assignment which has been assigned to you. Then what the student does, he goes, clicks on that particular assignment, and on the website itself, there is an ID which is built. This again, we came up with this particular idea because, if you have Linux, you have a particular issue. If you have MacBook, you have a particular issue. If you have Windows, there's so many disparities with respect to operating systems and all of that. I don't want to dive too deep into the tech. That could be a little boring for you guys. But yeah, so essentially that's another important feature, right? We have an inbuilt browser integrated development environment on our platform itself, right? So once you're done, once you're confident with your score as such, you submit your code, and then the teacher gets your marks automatically. And all of this is like a CSV file. For those of you who aren't familiar with what a CSV file is, it's a format which is similar to Excel, right? So it's like an Excel table, name, your UID, your score, and that's it. So once that's done, your teacher can directly forward it to whatever logistics application that you're trying to use. Like in our college, we have an in-house application called PESU Academy. They can directly forward it there, and a couple of other colleges use several other platforms as such, right? So directly just send it to your logistics application, and then these guys can put it out there directly. They also don't need to process it as such. Now, based on your needs, you can also classify your results. You want to see who's got the highest score, how many students have actually classified, how passed your test cases, all of these sort of things that you want to do, any sort of classifications, like let's say who submitted after your deadline and stuff like that. That's also something that you can do on our particular platform. So we're also trying to add a couple of data analysis features wherein you can tell the teachers where your students are particularly lacking, which assignment your students performed slightly badly in, and all of that, so that they can revise these concepts once more, thereby not just reducing their burden, but also increasing the quality of education that you're essentially receiving. Now, the reason as to why we started off with this particular platform is, in today's era, at least if you're in an engineering college, I'm pretty sure you would have noticed this. Knowing to code in one particular language is as basic as knowing the language English, right? So it's to communicate, to get a job, you need to know how to code at least to a particular extent in one language at least. And largely this, since most of us are computer science students, we found this to be a pressing need of the hour, which is why we started off with this particular issue as such. So yeah, I think we can go on to the next slide, Spandan. So I think okay. So our competitors, we've got Codetantra. I spoke to you guys about Codetantra. They do something similar. They have information organization. They evaluate your code, compare your test cases, but they don't offer any form of data analysis to make your quality of education any way better. Now that's something that we are proposing to do. Now, with respect to Microsoft Teams, submissions it will keep, but there is no evaluation, there's no analysis, nothing, right? So it's just one particular way to organize your information as such. Same thing with respect to Edmodo. Edmodo has a little bit of analysis which it provides, but again, that's for your MCQ type questions and so on. It's not largely for your programming questions as such. Now again, G Suite gives you any form of data analysis that you require, but they have nothing else available, right? And with respect to Sublit, we essentially do all three of these. That if you're plotting a particular market positioning graph, puts us on the rightmost corner as such. That's essentially what we do. I think we can go on now with the demo of this particular product. Prithvi, can we go about with this? Is that what we're starting off with next?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so let me give you guys a small demo of Sublit. So if you guys actually want to check out the platform, it's live, so you can go to www.sublit.in to check it out. So first of all, you can clearly see just a simple landing page with a bit of description about what Sublit is. I'll give you guys a small explanation about some of the features I'll be showing you today. So if you're a student, right, you can join a particular classroom. And once you join a classroom, you're given multiple assignments. Once you click on an assignment, you can code that assignment completely on your browser with an IDE rather than having to open up a terminal on your actual system. You can test out your code. So when your teacher is giving you an assignment as a question, you can look at that question, try to code up the solution, and test it out right on the platform. Once you're kind of happy with it, you can submit it. And once you're done with that, you can move on with your day. And all your information with respect to all your assignments are stored in one single platform. But really, teachers benefit a lot too. If you're a teacher, you can create classrooms and assignments like any other platform. But mainly, we provide you the ability to create and evaluate programming assignments. Along with this, you can actually create a lot more customizability, like adding deadlines, and you can apply grading policies for each of those particular assignments. And once you're done with that particular assignment with the deadlines over, you can download the whole data as a single CSV file and give it to your higher ups in your college. So let me just give you a small user flow of how any student or teacher could go through this particular platform. So first, let's sign up as a teacher. So here you're given a login page where you can log in either with GitHub or Google. So let's log in with GitHub. And once you've logged in with GitHub, you can see all your active assignments, the classes that you currently have or you've created, ability to create a classroom, as well as your past assignments. So let's just create one particular classroom. Let's call it test. And let's give a description of test as well. So once you've created this particular assignment, you can see all the students. You can see, first of all, you can see a class code, which is a 6-digit code. And this can be distributed to your students either through WhatsApp or any other distribution medium. And they can actually join this classroom through this code. Now you can also see all the students that have actually tried to join your classroom. So currently there are no students available. So also there are no assignments available since this is a new class. So let me actually try to create an assignment for this particular class. Let's call it simple programs. So it's called just simple programs, and we have a very basic description like simple programs. We can give a total amount of marks that you want for this particular assignment. Let that be 10. And you can also give a deadline. So once the deadline gets over, you can choose what happens to the assignment and what happens to the students' marks if they submit late. Once you're happy with your metadata here, you can actually create your assignment. Once you're done creating an assignment, within each assignment, there are multiple questions. So let's just create a quick question like add two numbers, a very simple program that you could code in Python or C++. So once you're happy with your question title, you can give a amount of marks that you want to give for that particular question. Once you're done with that, give a brief description about what the problem title actually means. Once you're happy with that, you can give an input format and output format. This is really important because teachers have to know, students have to know what the input format will be for their code and what the output format is expected to actually give them marks. So once you're happy with your description for your output format and input format, then you can move on and give test cases. Now, this is where the actual marks gets allotted for you. Your code will be run against multiple test cases as a student, and how many ever test cases you pass in those, that many marks you'll be getting. So you can give a test case which basically consists of an input which is given to the program and an output that's expected from the student's code. You could also give that, you could give that as a string, but you could also give that as a TXT file. So if you have massive test cases, you could give that as a text file instead. Once you're done with giving your test case, you could also give a certain amount of marks for a particular test case. So let's give about 10 marks. And we'll set this particular test case as a sample. Now, what this means is that if a student is shown the assignment, only sample test cases are actually shown to the student. And there are going to be a bunch of hidden test cases that will be run that will not be actually shown to the student itself. Once you're happy with your test case creation, you can actually create more test cases and create as many test cases as you want for this particular question. So since we've already created one with mark 7, we'll create one with another one with marks 3, and we'll move on. So I think we're happy with this. Now I'll also show you a couple of other optional details that you could add to your assignment. So first off, you can choose all the languages that this particular assignment can be supported for. So currently we allow Python 3, C, and C++ 17. But for now, let's just allow Python. And let's also, you can also see that you have an option to choose start time. This means the time at which the assignment is launched and can be seen by students. So the time before this, the teachers can actually decide on and edit the particular assignment. You can also allow late submission, and this is a really cool feature. So once you allow late submission, you can see how many, you can actually give a penalty for each day that the student submits late. So this is usually very common among teachers in our college at least. And you can choose a deadline penalty, which is the percentage of marks lost every day, the day after the assignment is submitted, after the deadline. And you can also choose the days. So every 2 days, you might want to cut 20% of the assignment. Every 4 days, you might want to cut 40% and so on. For now, let's not complicate it, and let's just not allow late submissions for now. So it looks like we're actually happy with our assignment. Let's edit the details of this particular assignment. And once this is actually saved, we can go on to a student user flow and actually try to submit the assignment. So since we have created our assignment, we can see that there are no students in this class currently. So we'll copy the class code that's given for this particular class, and we'll go through it as a student and try to log in. So here you can see we're at the sublit.in landing page again. But now let's try logging in as a student.
Prithvi, can we ask the rest of them also to join as students if they want to?
Yeah, Spandan, could you put the class code in the chat?
Yeah, we could do that. So, you know, if you want to make this slightly more interactive, you guys want to check out how the student feels like on your very own system as such, you can also try that out. We have the MVP, which is functional right now. So the class code is there. There's no force as such. So if you guys want to join, then you can. Right? So it's out there. So you can sign up as a student.
So here Spandan himself is signing up as a student, and you can again use GitHub or Google. Once you're done with that, you're given a basic setup page. So you can give your university UID, which is mainly going to be used by your teachers to actually, segregate you and actually identify you. You can give a username. You need to give an email address. You can give the college at which you study at, the year you're studying in, and a small description about you. Once you're done with that, that will be stored on the platform. And now you can see you're actually in the dashboard, but you don't really have any assignments or classes. But luckily, we've already created one particular classroom. So let's try to join that. So once you click on the join classroom button, you're given an option to input that 6-digit code that your teacher gave you. We directly copy paste it and let's join the classroom.
Also, in case anybody wants the website as such, I'm putting the link down in the chat right now. It's www.sublit.in.
So now, as soon as you see a particular classroom, you can see all the upcoming deadlines in the right-hand side. So this shows you a very quick view of what are the deadlines that you have to submit immediately and when is it due by. You can also see that the assignment we just created called Simple Programs is available at the bottom, and you can see the date it's created on, the teacher who created it, and the deadline of the assignment. And you can see how many questions of that assignment you've actually solved. If you want, you can actually look at your classmates who are also in this particular classroom. Right now, there's only one, which is Spandan. But if you have multiple classmates, you could see who else is in that particular classroom. So let's try to actually code in this particular assignment, right? This is a really big feature that Sublit offers you, which you can code your assignment right on the platform rather than using a terminal and then taking that particular file and submitting it. So here you can see the question that we just created, which is called add, which is a basic addition program, is given on the left-hand side, along with one single test case, which was the sample test case that we created. On the right-hand top side, you can see that we can choose languages. So we disabled C++ and C, and we only allow you to choose Python for now. But as a teacher, you could allow any of the 3 languages, and there are more to come. We want to give Java, JavaScript, etc. Now, let's say Spandan wants to code in the particular solution. So he just writes a very quick Python script for that problem. Now, let's say he also wants to look at additional settings like making his development experience easier, right? You can choose the key maps that you want to choose. So if you want to keep a default key map, that's fine. But as a Vim fan myself, I'm really happy that we allow Emacs and Vim support. We also allow you to choose the tab size and the font size of your code. So once you're done with that, you can save those particular settings. And once you're actually confident with your code itself, you could actually try running it. So here you can see you can try and run your code right on the platform. So we've given a custom input of 1 and 2. So the output of this program should actually be 3. Now we'll try for another combination, let's say 1 and 5, and this should be 6. So it looks like Spandan has coded the solution right. Now that he's confident with this particular question, he can click on the submit button. So internally, now we will run your code against all the hidden test cases as well as the sample test cases that the teacher has given. And we will evaluate it with the amount of marks that's given for that particular test case. So once you're done with all the questions, you can directly go onto the dashboard and move on with your day. You can, if you're not willing to submit the second question or you're not ready about the third question, then you could always wait, come back another time and submit that. All you need to do is you need to submit it before the deadline. So now that the student's process is done, let's go back to the teacher's side and see what change has been made. So now you can see that there's actually 1 student who has submitted and actually 4 students have joined. So 3 students have joined. So it looks like some other students who are also watching the live stream have joined. Thanks, everybody. So as you can see, Spandan has scored 10 on 10 in this particular assignment. And you can see his UID as well as the time he's submitted. So now let's actually, if we want to filter out all the students that have submitted and all the students who haven't, you can click on the filter button and you can see that only Spandan as the student has submitted. Now, if I want to see all the students who have not submitted, I can do that as well. Yeah. And now if I want to sort the list by the score, I can try that as well. So I can see Spandan is the person who scored the highest. And so I can sort you based on your UID, the time you've submitted, and so on. Yeah. So now let's say I want to actually see Spandan's code, right? So on the bottom, I can actually click on Spandan. And I can see the code that he actually submitted. So this is the exact code you saw Spandan code about 5 minutes back. You can see his UID, his overall assignment score, as well as you can see the number of test cases he's passed and the question score. So it looks like he's passed all the test cases. Now, if I want to see what the output of his test cases were, I can click on that and I can see the expected output, the output itself, if he solved it, and the marks scored for each test case. So we offer a lot of customizability and like flexibility for teachers to actually see where the students have gone wrong. So let's say I'm quite comfortable with this particular assignment. and the deadline is over. Now I just need to click one button and I can download a complete CSV file of this whole list. So before, what used to happen is teachers had to actually crowdsource all this data from a Google form or something like that, download it, evaluate every single one, and there are about 60 students in each class. Once you compile it, run it, and evaluate it, they have to score it, and then create a CSV file and then upload it to the higher ups or the management. Here, you just one click, you click the download as a CSV button, and that allows you to download the whole data as a CSV file. This can just be given to any managerial position in your particular university. So I think that's about it. Is that it, Rahul?
Yeah, I think that's a good spot to be in. We can talk a little bit about our short-term goals as such right now. Spandan, you can go back to our presentation. All right, so moving on to our short-term plan, we plan to achieve product market fit. Like, we want to start functioning in the market. We want to at least start generating revenue. We've been in talks with a couple of universities as such, including our very own university. We want to start generating revenue in at least 2 or more universities as such. We want to add a couple of more features like plagiarism. That's one particular issue which people are facing right now, and white box evaluation. We understand that it could be a little bit of a problem with respect to students. Like, let's say, like, I got pretty much most of the code right, but still somehow, like, I didn't pass the test case because I made one small error and I still get 0 for it. So we want to try and ensure that we use some amount of ML, some AI and stuff like that in order to ensure that even syntax and stuff like that has some amount of weightage with respect to evaluations. Then we want to try supporting all CS course assignments. Right now, there's courses like database management systems which use softwares like PostgreSQL and stuff like that. Now, for these as well, we want to be a complete engineering. I think you can go on to the next slide, Spandan. So, as a part of our long-term goals as well, we want to be a complete engineering ecosystem. Doesn't essentially have to be with only Java, C, Python, and so on. It can be for MATLAB, for Verilog, anything necessary. This should be a one-stop destination. We plan to be in all engineering universities across Bangalore as one of our long-term goals. We want to do stuff like pre-placement training, some amount of quizzes, make some MCQs, and so on, add those as well. Then we want to make, like I said, one-stop destination for every university with respect to anything related to coding as such. So another thing that I wanted to put forth here is that in today's era, one of the biggest reasons for unemployment is not that there aren't people. It's just the fact that they're unemployable. So why are they essentially unemployable? It's because the quality of education that they're receiving is not really up to mark, right? So they've received a particular education. They've done a set of tests. They've passed a particular set of exams. But if they studied one day before an exam and went and passed it, that won't retain whatsoever. And we know that, like, testing based on an exam isn't really the most efficient manner to go forward. So, which is why if you have a comprehensive evaluation throughout your entire academic year, what you essentially face is a more wholesome learning environment wherein you actually learn and don't do something just for the sake of doing it. And that's essentially what we plan to achieve. That's our long-term goal as such. I think we can go to the next slide, Spandan. So yeah, speaking about our cost structures, we need server costs. Naturally, if we have to store this amount of data, we're going to need some amount of servers in order to solve it. At the moment, we're using DigitalOcean. If anybody wants to know more, they're a very reasonably priced server system. You guys can check it out for your applications as well if you guys want to. So hiring talent for developing the product, naturally, we need web developers and front end, back end. If you guys, any of you are interested, you could contact us at any particular point. And yeah, naturally, we're going to have to start with sales and digital marketing as well. That's a part of our cost structure now that we're starting to go into production as such. So that's with respect to our cost structures. And I think we can go to our next slide, Spandan. So coming to our metrics, how will we be evaluating if we're actually succeeding as such? It will be the number of monthly active users. Are there people who are actually using this platform on every monthly basis? Are they actually coming back? So is there retention with respect to the users that we're essentially looking at? So annual recurring revenue, how many people are actually continuing to subscribe to our particular product? So our revenue streams essentially have to be a subscription model, right? We go to university, we say, like, let's say you have like a bunch of 10 classes, you give us this particular amount of money, we will take care of the coding and lab as such for your university. So if this is something I'm saying, they need to stay with us, right? So there needs to be some amount of recurring revenue. So how we're going to retain our particular customers is something we're going to look at, and our annual growth rate. Are we able to acquire more and more universities as a part of our customer base as we go forward? Will also be another key metric that we will be looking at. At the moment, these are the three metrics that we believe are strong enough to determine if we're progressing in the right direction as such. We can go to the next slide, Spandan. So yeah, that's about us. We're a team of 5 third-year students from PES University, and when we started that entrepreneurship course, we were put together by accident in a particular team, and today we're here, and we trying to essentially solve a particular problem that we face in our everyday life, and that we believe is the essence of entrepreneurship. To be able to solve a particular problem that somebody faces on a daily basis. So that's, I think, it. You can. Do we have any other slides left, Spandan? Just check once. So yeah, and yeah, we already did our product demo in case anyone wants to check it out. That's pretty much it. So we don't want to take the entirety of your 1 hour because we understand we're students as well. So if you guys have any questions, if you're interested as such, we can have a Q&A session right now. If anybody has any questions as such. Right. Also, Prithvi and so on. Like anybody from Team Sublit, if there's anything that you need to add, now you can just add it on.
I think you did a good job, Rahul. I think we're
Okay,
happy.
great. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, I see one particular question as such, one particular feedback as such. From Naren, this is good, but Sublet helps faculties to give more assignments frequently to students after evaluating. This could burden the students. So, like I mentioned, Naren, see, the thing is this, right? We spoke to a couple of teachers, and as a part of a customer discovery, you start getting to know your teachers much better when you start talking to them, and you realize they don't really hate us as students. So they wouldn't unnecessarily give us 1,000 assignments just because they have the feature and possibility to do so. So yeah, that's one thing we figured out. So no, we will not be overburdening students. Teachers are also humans. They don't hate us. So with that out of the way, I think we will be enhancing the quality of education. So one of the reasons, okay, so another thing that I want to tell you guys is this. So when we spoke to a couple of teachers, right? So one of the things that they told us was this: the reason they aren't able to give high quality assignments, right? Assignments which involve you to think and not something that you can copy paste from geeks to geeks, is because, well, the evaluation is a problem. Now, if I give you a particular binary search tree, if you're going to have to go through traversing it like 100 nodes, right? That's going to take a lot of time for the teacher. So just because the teacher does not want to put in this extra effort and save some amount of time, they are refraining from giving out higher order questions, which could potentially get you placed in, like, let's say, one of the top companies like Cisco itself, right? So that's the essential agenda behind what we have at Sublit. We want to ensure that you as a student are more interested when it comes to the subject that you're learning, the major that you're pursuing. So yes, we have particularly communicated this idea to our university. In fact, we're in talks. Hopefully, we will be able to generate some amount of revenue by the end of this week or the following week. Keep fingers crossed. I don't want to jinx anything. So yeah, we have had a couple of soft launches. We have spoken to a couple of students from several universities as well. And yeah, if you guys think this particular application can be used in your university as well, you guys can reach out to us at any particular point. In fact, I will be reaching out to quite a few of you from the startup track as such, because I obviously need to talk to a couple of universities as well if we have to get our product out there. So yeah, if you guys could help me out with the concerned authorities who are responsible for me to interact with them and get things going, it would be really useful. So any other questions, anything else? It doesn't essentially have to be with respect to our startup. If you believe that we have done something, that if you have any particular questions as to how we could address anything that you guys are facing as well, we'd be more than willing to help it. Okay, what was the most challenging part of this development? Okay, I personally believe that the most challenging part is yet to come. So I'm pretty sure some of you would have attended Satya sir's conversation yesterday, right? So one of the things that he mentioned is this, right? So the tech is something that you can build. The feasibility is something that you can build. The desirability, will people pay for this particular product, is a particular problem that we believe is the most challenging part. So how essentially are we going to quantify the value that we're generating? How are we going to translate this into, let's say, monetary benefits is what we find as a particular issue, because all of us come from a tech background. None of us really know how finance works. None of us know how the economics behind this particular app would go about and stuff like that. So with respect to that, I think streamlining our revenue streams would be one of the biggest problems that we have been facing for a really long time. With respect to the competitors, I'll just finish with this and I'll get back to that. So yeah, we need to work a little bit more on our revenue model and find out a particular appropriate fit. We're gonna have to trial and error is the only mechanism I think we can go about with right now. So is there any competitor in the market as such already? Well, there are platforms which perform similar functions, but for several reasons as such, right? They're not used for this particular purpose. So when it comes to, let's say, HackerRank or HackerEarth or platforms like that, I'm pretty sure you guys would have heard of coding platforms like HackerRank and HackerEarth. So how are we essentially different from them? Now, HackerRank and HackerEarth, they essentially focus on what competitive coding does. So competitive coding is very, very different from what you learn in your classroom, right? So what Sublit essentially does is it helps you strengthen your core concepts. What we are is essentially a tool which your teacher can use in order to ensure that your learning process becomes much more easier. So they will give you questions to make you think in a particular way. That's essentially what we're trying to solve. Is there anything else? Prithvi, do you want to say something?
Yeah, Rahul, I think I'll take the next question. So it's basically asking about the tech and development side of it all, as well as like the tech stack that we use. So we use basically, we have two components, our backend and our front end. Our front end is written in React and TypeScript, and our backend is written in TypeScript and Node.js. We use the Express.js framework. We use MongoDB as a database. And we also have a bit of code written in Go to actually handle all the code execution part of our server. So implementation of the IDE itself, there are a lot of really good open source libraries that you can use in React, as well as if you're using regular JavaScript to actually handle this. So there's one library called Monaco, there's another one called React Ace, and both of those we've been looking at, and we eventually ended up with React Ace. But yeah, we've used those particular open source libraries to actually handle our IDs. So can you put a limit of 4 to 5 assignments to each student? Can this feature be added to Sublit?
I mean,
So yeah, go
sure.
on, Rahul.
This feature can be added, Nareen. There's no problem in adding it with respect to our tech. This is a simple feature. It's just like the checkbox. Python. You wanted three languages. If you wanted only Python, you can have only Python. The same way, if you put a restriction to the number of assignments, it can be done. But the only thing would be, we'll also have to look at the person who's actually paying for this particular service. If you're putting a cap onto it, right? So the university might not essentially find as much value in using our product at all. That's the only reason as to why we might not. But that being said, if a couple of universities find that these students might be these overly burdened because of this particular additional tool which was given to their teachers, now this particular feature can be something worked upon. This can be provided to universities which might essentially need them as well. We can do that. There's no difficulty as such. And is there anything else? Win-win situation. Great. I guess you wanted some API for the. Okay, cool. Yes, we will be dropping down our link. I will be dropping down my LinkedIn as such. My LinkedIn's connected to Sublit's LinkedIn, so essentially you can also check out what we do. We don't really post much yet, but we will start getting to that very soon. And all right, Saravana has a question saying, how much time did it take to build this particular website?
So we basically took about 4 to 6 months really to build the whole application. There are a couple of road bumps along the way, but we took about 6 months to build the whole application.
So I think we started off with respect to the building in the beginning of the, I think towards the ending of the learning track, somewhere in the beginning of the product track or something of that sort, like full fledged, like we got into the, building process. Sure, we had like a couple of things, like a basic, very terrible looking landing page and stuff like that. And I have to say, I don't know if our interns are here on this call today, but great shout out to them. I've gotten quite a few messages here itself personally to me saying that the UI looks really cool, and yeah, and the entire credit goes to them. So we've got an intern called Suprita and an intern called Samat. They did absolutely amazing work, and they're the reason this particular platform looks this particular way. So essentially, to answer your questions, Ravana, the time that we took to build the website all in all possibly was when we were starting to rapidly work on it was 3.5 months, but if you want to put the entire thing together, I think 6 months would be an ideal time to put it on a timeline. So that's what we're looking at. Thank you, Avni. Yes, the UI, I have to say, that's one of, we are really, really thankful to our interns. They did a brilliant job. And yeah, so they study interaction design in PS University. So they helped us out a very great deal with respect to the UI. We're eternally grateful. I will tell that 3 more times if necessary. Okay. So yeah, any
I'll also answer Om Divjay.
Divyatij?
Divyaj. Yeah. So he asked about how they actually implemented the ID part. So we haven't used an external API. We built our own service for that particular code execution part. So we did not want to pay for another API because we just thought that if we build everything in house, it will be better. So we built that in about a month, and yeah, that's been working very well for us.
Yeah, and so yeah, at any particular point, guys, I'll be dropping down my LinkedIn right here. You can message me for the rest of the team's LinkedIn as such. I'll put that down in our LinkedIn conversation if you guys want it. So wait 1 second, I have to get that link from LinkedIn. That's what I'm looking for right now. So how do we do this? We go to view profile, then we share profile. Right. Let me just put that down there. 1 second, guys. Okay, you've got Prithvi's LinkedIn. Great. And yeah, any other questions, guys? If you guys need any other help as such, if you guys feel like we could help you guys out, because we feel like you definitely could help us out, please feel free to reach out. Yes, Saravana, is there anything that you want to tell?
Yeah, my question is like before building this application, whether you had a knowledge about this or like you learned and just you went through and you learned then you build it.
Okay, to answer that, there was some amount of background knowledge. I'm not going to say we were at ground zero, but a lot of things, for example, DigitalOcean, that was absolutely new. So if we had to get familiarized with it, we had to start from ground up, right? So we had to learn on the go. So things like MongoDB, a little bit of background was there because, we learned a little bit about it in our degree as such, but you know how things are. Your degree and your industrial stuff aren't really as matching as they're supposed to be. So yeah, so we pretty much had to learn on the go as well.
When you got when you like strike this like I want to like build this application. At what point you after joining to Cisco thing together, or you had before only you have this idea like I am facing this kind of.
So we had identified this as a problem before Thinkubator started. We just thought of this as a particular problem, and that's the problem we submitted even for Thinkubator, right? So before the learning track even began. So for the shortlisting process itself, we had identified this as a particular problem. We didn't really know that, we'd progress this far with the development of the problem itself as such. And like I said, Thinkubator was that essential driving force. Like if you tell ki 10 din mein deadline hai, to 10 din mein you have to make something happen, right? So that's the reason we started, moving forward with respect to building the product itself. And I have to say thank you so much, the entire team, Vikram sir, and uh, over and over again, the competitions which kept coming, and Akhil sir for the constant mentorship, Lyle sir, and so many people, right? So the entire team has been super helpful in directing us in the right way. Specifically, Prashant sir, with respect to the tech, he's helped a lot. So yeah, stuff like this. It's. But to answer your question, we had the idea before Thinkubator, but we hadn't started working on anything yet. So during Thinkubator is when we started.
Is there any similar platform that they're using in your college or
At the moment, there are no platforms that they're using in our college. I mean, they're using us right now. They're using Sublit for a couple of classrooms right now. They're in their trial week. Hopefully, they will be willing to pay for it in the following week. So, essentially, the platform that they're using in PS University is Sublit.in.
what is your first reaction from your college after like you like when you told this idea to your college? What
Uh-huh.
they initially like this was, like what is your their feedback from? about this subject?
Okay, to be fair, the college was enthusiastic. That's the right word to use, right? Because obviously, when it comes to a teacher's perspective, we're reducing a whole lot of work for them, right? Because unka kya tha, before that, they had to full-fledged assign an assignment, then evaluate 60 assignments. Each would take 5-10 minutes. That's like a good 8 or 9 hours in a week. And all of this time just completely gets reduced with respect to a particular teacher's perspective. So when we took it up to the management, they were actually really happy with respect to the fact that we're making their teachers' lives easier. And you know what they could do with this particular thing? They could, invest this particular time in better teaching mechanisms. They could, add some more time with respect to research because, in a university, right? You don't just come to teach. You also try to get some amount of publications, do some amount of research and stuff like that. So this is something that the teachers could start working on. So the teachers were really happy. And with respect to the students, I think Medha is here. So a couple of her classmates, batchmates as such, have used the particular product already, and they were really happy as well. So I think I was positively overwhelmed when I saw the feedback that we got from them. It was, but yeah, a lot of compliments went towards the UI as well as the tech stack. It was overall we expected. Not so good of a response. So we weren't really expecting this high a degree of response. But when we got it, we were really surprised. We were positively overwhelmed.
It's currently now using for only for CS, like tech CS
Yes.
or IS. You have any in future? You have any idea to use this for any like other like mechanical, like a lot of other branches was there? No?
Yes. So essentially, we also plan to expand to softwares like MATLAB, Verilog, CAD, and so on. Which it could be like a software solution as such for everything. As On the whole, that's the long-term goal. But obviously, for us to get to that particular level, it'll take a lot of R&D and stuff like that, and obviously some amount of time as such. So it essentially will be a long-term goal. But yes, this is on our bucket list. We want to get there as soon as we can.
Yeah, it's really a good idea. Thank you so much answering all my questions. Just a few things which I want to ask.
Thank you, Saravana. It was great talking to you. If anybody else has any questions, thank you, Meda. That was okay. So we've got a couple of questions more. Thank you, Niyama from Triganta. This means a lot to us, and as well as okay, Nareen has another question. What inspired you and your team to build this particular software? Are there a number of problems outside PS? I feel like you guys should address them with tech help. I think about it next time. Okay, so the thing is this, right? So we're starting off with PS again, like I said, bird in hand principle. Our extent maximum is in PES University. And we have been speaking to students from RP College of Engineering. We've been speaking to students from NIT Surathkal. We've been speaking to students from IIT BHU. We've been speaking to students from BMS College of Engineering. Several colleges outside our university as well. And the one thing that we happen to realize is this is not just a problem that is faced in our university. The only reason as to why we haven't approached them for revenue yet is because we want to like get all the bugs out of the way so that you give them a fully ready market product that they'll be able to use as such. So that's the only thing. Okay, Saravana, I'm so sorry I put that LinkedIn thing out there, but I forgot to send it to you guys. I sent it to myself on WhatsApp. So okay, it's okay, 1 second. I'm just gonna copy that and send it to you guys. So yeah, meanwhile, Prithvi and anybody else, if you guys want to take on the next questions or anything of that sort, if anybody else has, you could do that for a second. Then we just get done with this LinkedIn thing.
I think we are done with the questions for now. There are no other questions in the chat section.
Yeah.
So there are no other questions. If anybody has any other questions, we're good. Otherwise, I think we can call it a day, and I can finally open. I can't open my LinkedIn. Okay, so all right. So where is it? F man, this is embarrassing. My LinkedIn's not working. Okay, so if any of you guys, I think Medha Matangi and like Pihu and so on. Uh, could you guys just share my LinkedIn? Thank you so much, guys. Yes, that's my LinkedIn. Thank you so much, guys. This is awfully embarrassing. Okay, yeah. So I think that's about it. If anybody else has any questions as such, you guys are free. Feel free to ask. Feel free to text us on LinkedIn or WhatsApp or anything as such. And if and yeah, please help us out if you guys need any help as well. So we'll be in touch with you guys. Yeah.
Also, there's a contact us form on Sublit itself. So if you're there and you want any other features in there or anything else you want us to know, you can directly go on contact us and send in your entries. Thank you so much for all the feedback.
Thank you, Meda. Thank you, Avni. Thank you, Naima. Thank you, Naren. Naren provided us with a lot of constructive criticism. And yes, we will be asking about the suggestions that you gave, Naren. We will be talking to a couple of other people in college and outside college as well. And we'll be finding out if there are some amount of features additionally which can be clubbed with this particular feature and so on. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. If we're okay. Patent. Uh, with respect to patent laws, I don't think we've patented it yet. I think that's something that we can look at as help from Thinkcubator's side. Vikram sir, is there something that we could potentially do here?
Yes, Rahul. Maybe you can think about like just for that. So we'll plan some session with company
Oh,
registration and all about the patent and all. So maybe
surely, sir.
we'll come
So
at that point
with
of time.
respect to patent and intellectual property and so on, we could probably have a session that'd be really useful to all of us. I'm pretty sure, Vikram sir. Thank you, Naren. That was really important. So yeah, and yeah, that's I think pretty much it. If we have any other questions, we can take it on for like 3 or 4 more minutes. Okay, let me just look through this. Okay, we've got Ritesh's LinkedIn has also been put down. Pihu's LinkedIn has also been put down for you guys to view. And yeah, that's us. We're Ritesh, Pihu, Prithvi, and me, and Spandan as well. Spandan is the first person to have transitioned from an intern to a full-time member on Sublit as such. So yeah, that's about us, guys. I think we can end. 2 minutes is fine. That's pretty much it. Thank you, Vikram sir. This was a great opportunity. Okay, wait, we've got one more question. Did you have any problems in team? How did you overcome it? I think we got lucky on this end. Uh, like I don't have anything else to say. We just naturally started to click. We have not had any issues so far. Hopefully, we won't have any in the future. The team was absolutely great. Like a couple of us had a couple of skill sets, and a couple of others had complementary skill sets, and just pieced together very well. It was really peaceful. So we got really lucky with respect to the team as such. That's all I have to say. The best team ever to be working with. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it, Vikram sir. Thank you. I think we can now end the session.
Yes, Rahul. Actually, awesome job from you and your team, I guess. So that was really actually we are looking for such kind of webinar. Yeah.
Great talking to you as well, Vikram sir. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. It means a lot to us, and yeah, hopefully we stay in touch.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.